Good morning, everybody. My name is Erica Wade, and I am the manager for the Office of Small Business Opportunity. It's such a pleasure to have so many of you join us for our workshop, Let's Talk Procurement, securing your piece of the procurement pie. My question is, are you ready? Are you ready is my question. Are you ready to secure that piece? I want to encourage you to get a pen and the paper and take lots of notes. We have a lot of good information that we want to pass on to you. I want to say a special thanks to our panelists, my director, Ms. Chris Kiefer, the OSBO and the GCS staff. I want to recognize our partners from Smbcc, the City of Columbia, SCDOT, SBA, the Chamber, our SLBEs, and I also see we have Councilwoman Gretchen Barron on the call. Good morning. But before we go any further, I want to just take care of some housekeeping rules. First of all, we would ask you to please keep your microphones muted. But we want this to be an interactive group, so we want to encourage you to please put all your questions into the chat box. We have somebody that's on the team that will monitor the chat box, and we will make sure that your questions get answered. We will also have a Q&A session. If we didn't get to your question throughout the workshop, we will get to it at the end. We will have a Q&A session. And also we want to let everybody know that this session is being recorded live. It's actually airing live right now as we speak on our Richland County's YouTube page. So this is the reason why we want to make this interactive, because you may be asking some questions to somebody who's not on the call, or maybe that may be watching later on that may have and can't answer the question live. So you might, be answering those questions. And again, I just want to say thank you for being on here. We will send out emails at the end of this workshop. We will send out some resource information to you from all of our panelists. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Margaret Jones, who will go in and talk about our OSBO, our Richland County OSBO SLBE program. Ms. Jones? You're muted.
Good morning, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Margaret Jones, Certification Compliance Specialist for the Office of Small Business Opportunity. We know to grow a business, you need opportunities. Richland County Office of Small Business ensures that small and local business have significant opportunities to compete and participate in county contracts. The department goals are to focus on advocating, connecting, and qualifying small businesses to become more competitive in the business market through its small and local business enterprise certification program. The program is race, gender neutral, and non-federally funded. We provide avenues for our SLBEs to compete and participate county-wide contracts in 6 different industries. And to be eligible, you must be located in Richland County for at least 1 year prior to completion of your application, or have at least 25% of your employees live in Richland County and be independently owned and operated. The certification application is an online application process. And for more information and to find out if your business is eligible, go to www.richlandcountysc.gov/OSBO, or you can contact us at 803-576-1540. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Michelle?
Now we have Government and Community Services, Mr. Brian Davis.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. My name is Bryant Davis. I work in Government Community Services with this amazing group of people that put this program on together. And so I serve as the Assistant Director of Government Community Services. And so we're a proactive outreach arm of the county. We focus on facilitating improved community outreach, administration of our government services, as well as resolving issues within our communities. And so we do a lot of connecting, working with, serving on various councils, boards, and committees across the county to learn and understand the challenges that exist in our county and be able to relay those things to our administration and council as needed. One great way, and this is a perfect timing for this, our department is doing a neighborhood survey. We recognize that in order for us to enact and make change and do things across the community, we need your input. And so there is a survey link and a paper survey that I'm going to link to in the chat. If you live in a Richland County community, I would heavily encourage you, almost implore you to please go and fill out this survey. We need your input to understand how we can work on addressing some of the issues and concerns that exist in the community. This isn't just this isn't just a Richland County thing. We need your voice. It needs to be heard. And so again, our process in doing that is making sure that we can actively include as many of our constituents in that process as possible. So again, want to get back to our program, but thank you all for being here. You're in for a great program today. So again, as Erica said, make sure you take notes and utilize that chat. But again, we're so happy to have you here, and thank you once again. And I'll put that information in the chat as well as my contact information. So if there's anything we can ever do for you and your business or your community, we want to make sure we can do that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle.
Thank you, Bryant. So next, I'll be introducing our moderator for today, who is none other than our very own procurement manager, Jennifer Ledesky. I'd like to talk a little bit about what she does. And this woman is so amazing. She definitely helped me when I came on board. She helped me to understand the procurement process, and I am so forever grateful to her. So Jennifer is our purchasing and contract administrator for all services, all supplies, constructions, and all things procurement wise for the county. She has been with the county for 10 years. Jennifer has over 10 years experience in public and private sector procurement. She holds the following certificates. She's a National Institute of Government Procurement Certified Procurement Professional. She's also a professional public buyer, a professional purchasing manager, and management certificate in public procurement from California State University, San Bernardino, California. She's originally from Maryland, and she moved to South Carolina in 1995. Jennifer and her husband enjoy gardening, traveling, hosting, visiting family members from out of town. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jennifer Ledesky.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And thank you, Michelle. Your introductions always give me a nice boost, a nice confidence boost. So thank you so much. I've enjoyed working with Michelle and all the folks at the OSBO office as they attempt to help our small businesses in Richland County grow and succeed and do great things. So I'm here today as moderator. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce the people of the hour. We have Miss Kimber Craig. Kimber Craig has over 25 years procurement experience in the public and private sectors. She serves as the procurement director for the Division of Procurement Services for the State Fiscal Accountability Authority. And in this capacity, she oversees a team of 20 procurement professionals responsible for the procurement of goods, services, and information technology for the state of South Carolina. Kimber holds the Certified Public Procurement Officer, Certified Public Manager designations, and she earned her bachelor's degree from the University of South Carolina with honors from the South Carolina College. So thank you, Kimber, for participating today. We're honored to have you with us. And we also have Emmett Kerwin. Emmett Kerwin is the Procurement Director for Goods and Services at SCDOT. Prior to working at SCDOT, he was at the Budget and Control Board in Calhoun County. He holds a bachelor's in communications from Susquehanna University, a bachelor's in hotel, restaurant, tourism administration from the University of South Carolina, a master's in public administration from USC, and he sings in the choir at St. Martin's in the Fields, has run several marathons, and has completed a half Ironman. Wow. He lives in Colombia with his spouse and dog Sergeant. Thank you, Emmett, for participating today. And we also have Elizabeth Marsh. Elizabeth, or Beth, as most people call her, has been working for the City of Columbia since 2015, starting as a temporary employee and working her way up to procurement manager for goods and services, which is her current position for the city. She earned her degree in business administration with a concentration in contracts and acquisitions from Strayer University in 2018. Beth moved to Colombia in 2015 from her hometown of Hampton, Virginia. Her first taste of South Carolina was the 2015 floods. She learned very quickly that river and lake flooding is much different than coastal Virginia flooding. The floods that brought Beth to work at the city of Columbia, the floods are what first brought Beth to work for the city of Columbia. She worked as an emergency temporary employee processing and coordinating emergency flood procurements. Beth loves to volunteer, and currently she sits on the board of South Carolina Governmental Procurement Association as the treasurer. This is her first year serving on the board, and she has served on many committees within SCAGPO over the years. Thank you and welcome, Beth. So with that, we will move on to our questions section. So we've got some questions we'll go ahead and start off with, some of our frequently asked questions. Just to get everybody started here, as Erica mentioned, if you'll please drop any questions you have as we go along in the chat box. We do have someone monitoring that. And if we don't get to them during the discussion, we will make certain we get to those towards the end. So first off, how about everyone tell us how they can register to be a vendor and what are the benefits of being registered? And if you would also share where your list is posted or where it can be accessed. So how about Kimber, can we start with you for the state?
Absolutely. I'm Kimber Craig. I am the State Procurement Director. We are the Central Procurement Office for the state of South Carolina. So I can tell you about how to register as a vendor with the state. So if you go to our website, it's www.procurement.sc.gov. We have a link on our website that says vendor registration. You click on that link, there is a 9-step process. And I know 9 steps sounds like a lot, but we're asking for basic information such as, of course, your company name, your tax ID number, addresses, information. If you have multiple addresses for ordering or for payment addresses, you can enter more than one address. We ask for information, contact information, phone number, email. We ask for commodity code information. So that tells us what goods or services or information technology that you're able to provide to the state. And it's really critical when you fill out that registration that you put in the commodity codes for the goods and services that you provide. We have about 8,000 different commodity codes in the system. So if you sell it, we've got a commodity code for it. And you can register for as many commodity codes as you need to. So please, just the more the better, because that gives us better access to what you can provide. Once you go through that registration process, it does go through a review process. So know if you register with the state, it may take 48 to 72 hours for you to get your registration approved. The benefits for registering, first of all, you have to be registered to get paid. So this is registration for both the procurement system and our finance system. So without a vendor number, that's how payments get out. Also, for solicitations that the state agencies issue through our ERP system, which is known as SKIs. If we have a solicitation, which is over $25,000 that's advertised in SKIs, and it matches the commodity code on your vendor registration, you will get an email notification. So if there is a mismatch between those commodity codes, you won't get the automatic email. You will be able to note to look up where those solicitations are advertised, but that will require an effort on your part to go out and find that. So key is go to the website, get the registration in, and know that it will take a couple of days to get that registration activated.
Awesome, great, thank you so much. And how about Emmett? Would you like to explain, is the SCDOT process different from the state?
So for The contracts that I put in place, no, the registration is exactly the same. However, if you are wanting to be a prime contractor for our road construction projects, there is a separate prime contractor pre-qualification process that all primes must go through, and that information is located at scdot.org, and it's under the business link on the page, and then under consultants and contractors, there's a pre-qualification performance score section, and that is where they would look up that process. It's where any prime contractor would look up the process on how to get pre-qualified for that. In addition, there is also a what's called a construction extranet. So any subcontractors, so anyone who wants to subcontract on highway construction work, can go to the construction extranet link, and that is where the prime contractors and the subcontractors for highway construction work connect. And that is, we also have a professional services section at SCDOT for those professional services connected directly to a construction project. And that also, again, that registration process is actually the same as the state's. There's no separate process for that. You do have, they don't accept bids in professional services through SKIs. They do that through something called ProjectWise, and there's information also under the business, on our business page, on how to get a ProjectWise account. So our office is the only one in the agency that actually uses SKIs at the moment for all of our, for goods and services. And I will say that my office, again, does not deal with road construction. We deal mainly with the maintenance contracts for our 46 counties. And one other thing that Kimber probably wouldn't see as much, but we do a little bit of, there was a little change in the code, which I know she knows about. So in addition to what she said about anything over $25,000 as advertised, if we as an agency have to go out and get 3 quotes and we don't get those 3 quotes, we're gonna advertise that between $10,000 and $25,000. And at our agency, that's for 3 business days. So that we also use SKIs for that as well, but only when we can't get our 3 responsive and responsible quotes.
Excellent, great, thank you so much. And I will mention we did have a question come in related to the links. So we won't repeat any of the links that we're giving out right now, but we will, at the end of the presentation, we will kind of consolidate all of that information so we can hand that out to everyone. So don't worry if you didn't quite write fast enough, we'll get all of that information to you. How about Beth? Would you like to chime in for the city?
Sure, good morning. So for the City of Columbia, we have an eBid Columbia site. There'll be a handout that will be sent out to everyone that's registered, and it has the website. It's columbiasce.ionwave.net, and you register in that system. And the handout will actually walk you through each step that you need to do. The benefits are the same as with the state. Anything that's over $25,000 is a formal solicitation for the city. So you'll be notified based on your commodity code that you register for. So for any bid, RFP, and we actually, the city has started putting small quotes on eBid. So when we're looking for small quotes, anything under $25,000, we have started advertising certain things through eBid. It's requesting quotes. It's not formal, but we are trying to get more competition. So that's how we've decided to start piloting a little program. So if you register with your commodity code, even if you don't think you'll ever do business with the city over $25,000, I would highly encourage you to register to make sure that you get those emails and you know what's going out as we start doing that more and more.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see, we've got a couple more just really generic questions. I'll go ahead and ask some of those. Some of these are specific to a particular agency, so we'll directly ask that agency. What types of opportunities does your agency typically handle, and can you shed some light on the size and scopes of some of those projects? And that was for the state, Ms. Craig. And I know you touched on the fact that you had a threshold of $25,000, but maybe talk about a little bit more about the types of goods and services that would be of interest for our group today.
Absolutely. So all the procurements for state agencies are governed by the South Carolina Consolidated Procurement Code. And one of the aspects of the code is what we call agency authority or agency certification. So the procurement code grants every state agency authority for purchases up to $50,000. So if the total value of a purchase is $50,000 or less, that's actually handled at the agency level. Anything over that amount would come to our office in order to process. Now, there are agencies, FCDOT is one of them, which is they're larger agencies. They spend more money. They have larger procurement staffs. Those agencies may be certified for higher dollar limits. So what happens is there's an audit process through our office. We go out to an agency, take a look at their processes, their procedures, look at the work they've done, make sure that they are processing things in accordance with the code. And then what happens is we'll make a recommendation to the State Fiscal Accountability Authority, which is a 5-member authority made of the governor, the treasurer, comptroller general, chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, and chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and they may grant increased certification limits to specific agencies. And you can go to our website, procurement.sc.gov, in our audit section and get a list of those certified agencies, so you'll know how much authority each agency has. Now, so regardless of whether an agency is certified for $50,000 or $500,000, they're going to have to follow the same rules as far as procurement goes. And that's all based on competition requirements are based on amounts. So small purchase procedures, that is considered anything $100,000 and less. There are 3 different categories for the small purchases. So there is what we call our no competition threshold, and those are purchases up to $10,000. So anything up to $10,000, of course, is done at the agency level. And in that case, no competitive quotes are required. Doesn't mean that an agency can't get a quote, but they're not required. And the agency must make a determination that prices are fair and reasonable in order to purchase under this statute. Once you reach that $10,000 threshold, we go to what we call the 3 written quotes procedure, and that's between $10,000 and $25,000. Emmett alluded to that in that category. We must get a written request for written quotes. Again, this is also done at the agency level. So an agency must get a written request. Can be email. It can be a request for quote through SKIs that's advertised. It's up to the agency discretion on how to put those requests out. And then they must get written quotes back from the vendor, and they're required to get at least 3 quotes, and those must be bona fide quotes. So a no bid does not count. So if an agency contacts a vendor and they say, I don't have that available, or I'm too busy to do the work and I'm not going to submit a price and I'm not going to bid, that does not count as one of the 3 quotes. That was a change made to the procurement code a couple of years ago. If an agency has difficulty obtaining the 3 written quotes, they can advertise in South Carolina Business Opportunities or SBCC. They can, if it's advertised and for a certain period of time, to make sure that there's adequate public notice that an agency is looking for something and they still don't get 3 quotes, then they can proceed with the purchase. And again, when this is used 3 quotes, the agency purchases from the lowest responsive and responsible source.
Awesome.
Once they hit that $25,000 threshold, those are where we have to have the advertised small purchase. That's a written solicitation of quotes or bids. That one is advertised in SBCC as well. Smbcc is available on our website. If you go to procurement.sc.gov and search for South Carolina business opportunities, you'll be able to find it. And that's where all those procurements are advertised. And those may be issued by either an agency or by our office, depending on certification.
Okay, thank you. And I will also mention that Richland County, and I know many, many other counties, cities, townships, et cetera, also advertise on Smbcc. So it's definitely worth your while to check that out on a regular basis because there's a lot of opportunities on Smbcc. And I did drop in the chat field the location where you can go to get information about registering for Richland County as a vendor. All of our information can be found on the website at www.richlandcountysc.gov. We're under the businesses section and procurement and contracting. You'll find information about what's required to register, a link to register online, which is fairly new for us at Richland County. And once you get registered, it's very similar to what Kimber was mentioning for the state. We have commodity codes that you can add to your vendor file. And when we issue quotes for those codes, you will be notified. You're also notified if you register for specifically for Richland County. So a lot of those will be, automatic notifications, which are good for, busy small businesses. You don't have time to go out to Smbcc every day or search advertisements. It comes right to your inbox. So all of the information is on there. We also encourage people to, a lot of the small purchases don't end up being advertised publicly. And so we encourage you to contact us, ask about some smaller opportunities. We can put you in contact with people from our Public Works Department or Operational Services who may have some smaller jobs that they're just getting 3 quotes on. And we'd be happy to put you in contact with them. Moving along, we have a question for the city. Does your agency focus more on best price or best value?
The City of Columbia focuses more on best price. Most of our formal solicitations are bids. Lowest price, our construction normally goes through on bids. Goods and services that are non-professional type services, engineers, architects, those types of things, they go through on bids as well. So it's low price, best price, excuse me.
Awesome. And while I have you, does the city post the upcoming solicitations on their website, any kind of letting schedule?
We do not post upcoming solicitations. We post current solicitations on the eBid, the Columbia Ion Wave site, but you can go to the Columbia Water website and you can see there's a 5-year CIP list, and that can give you an idea of what would be upcoming for the city. So those are projects that are scheduled, they're planned, and it's a look forward. So you can sort of determine in there what we'll be looking for in the next 5 years.
Okay, great. How about Emmett or Kimber? Does the state post any sort of letting schedule?
So we don't post a letting schedule for goods and services. We do for construction. So, and that is, again, and we don't do that for professional services either. So it's really only our construction contracts that have any kind of a true letting schedule that's in advance. We do have, we just like all the other state agencies use Smbcc and SKIs to get our information out.
Okay, great.
And we're the same way at state.
Awesome.
Central office.
All right, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about some preferences. Can anyone chime in to let us know about what kind of certifications your agency recognizes? Do you have any sort of requirements for a certain portion or percentage of your contracts to be awarded based on preferences?
I'll start this one. So we don't for goods and services. We cannot, we have preferences, but that's a whole, I'll let Kimber talk about the state preferences. For federally funded construction projects, we generally set aside a goal on each of those. It ranges, but that is for the prime to subcontract with a certain percentage. They have to meet a certain percentage of minority business participation as defined by the by FHWA and the federal government. We do not. There is a small set aside program. I wish Gary Lynn were on here. We do have a very, very small set aside program for construction for minority business, but it's also that being that qualified prime in order to do the work. And I think it's only on contracts that are construction contracts under $500,000. I mean, it's pretty small. But so we do have that in our construction side of the house. For purposes of reporting to the state office, to OSMBA, we can only count those vendors towards our controllable dollars, those vendors that are registered with OSMBA. The good thing is we have, I think you may ask this about a little later, but we do have, so there's OSMBA, and then SCDOT also has office for minority business, but we can talk about that later.
Okay, great. And since you kind of alluded to the state's preferences, Kimber, would you like to talk about that program?
Sure. The state, now what preferences that we have in the procurement code are related to a South Carolina resident vendor preference. That is for a vendor who is located in the state of South Carolina. There are certain requirements. You have to have a certain number of employees within the state. You have to be headquartered in the state, or you have to have a certain amount of inventory within the state. We also have a preferences for South Carolina end products and US end products. So something that is made, manufactured, or grown within the state of South Carolina or within the United States. Those preferences can range anywhere from a 2% preference or up to 10% based on a combination. So if you're a resident vendor who offers a South Carolina end product preference, you can get up to a 10% preference. This is how we used to evaluate to help determine the low bidder. There are certain instances where they don't apply. So they don't apply to larger dollar contracts. They don't apply to if we use a request for proposal for evaluation. So it's limited to when those do apply. There are not any preferences for smaller minority businesses within the procurement code. As Emmett said, agencies do establish goals for those purchases with OSMBA, but we don't have any set asides specifically for the state for those.
Okay, great. And how about Beth with the city?
The city has an LBE program. It's a local business enterprise program that the OBO, Office of Business Opportunities, they actually certify. And it's based on a certain area is considered local to Colombia, excuse me. I just put in the chat the website to our OBO office. You can read about that program, but if you're a local certified vendor through OBO, if you're within 5% of the lowest bidder on bids, you can actually bring your price down to that low bid, and you can actually be awarded that bid. So it's a great certification that the city does. The city also has a Colombia Disadvantaged Business Enterprise that they certify businesses for. We recognize SCDOT's certifications. We recognize Smbcc along with other federal designations. And the city of Columbia does have a overall 20% DBE goal that our city manager has put in place. So it's overall spend. It's not based on certain projects. It's overall spend for the city. So that is our goal that our city manager, Ms. Wilson, put in place for us.
Excellent, thank you.
Absolutely.
And we heard from the Office of Small Business Opportunities earlier about the Richland County Small Local Business Enterprise Program. And I will ask someone to put that website in the chat box so everyone can go there. They can find out how they can be registered as a small local business enterprise for Richland County. We do have goals that we establish in some of our contracts for participation of SLBEs. So it's important to get registered and stay registered. We also do have a preference for local businesses where it applies similarly to the state. It's for smaller purchases, only goods, no services, no RFPs, that sort of thing. But if you see that in a solicitation and you apply for that, you can receive a 5% reduction in your bid. So if you were number 2 by less than 5%, then you could end up achieving the low bid for that project. So, all right, thank you. And let's see. We've talked a little bit about everyone's vendor registration process, and I guess I'll just ask if your bids are submitted through that same system, or is there another way to submit bids? Is anyone doing paper bids? Could we talk about that?
I'll start off. I'll start that one off. Yep. So through our eBid system, we do accept bids and proposals. We are completely electronic now, especially during the pandemic. We made sure that we changed that over. But when we solicit for RFPs or requests for qualifications, we do require one hard copy to be delivered to the office by the date specified in the solicitation. So that is the only time that a hard copy would have to be delivered. Otherwise, everything is accepted through the eBid system.
Great, thank you. How about Emmett or Kimber? Can you let us know, is that the same system for submitting bids, or do the vendors need to go elsewhere?
This is Kimber. For the state system for solicitations, we issue those through SKIS, which is the Southcon Enterprise Information System, which is what the vendor registration feeds into. So the online bids are accepted through that system. We do prefer and ask that everything is submitted online. Occasionally on a specific solicitation, somebody may ask for a hard copy, but in our office, we are pretty much wanting those to be submitted online. However, if someone shows up at our office with a hard copy offer prior to the submission deadline, we will accept a hard copy.
Okay, great, thank you.
Same goes for DOT as well. We prefer, so again, goods and services through SKIS. There's a whole different side for construction, and then there's a different program for professional services. I don't know about construction accepting hard copies because usually that's a huge amount of paper, but we do. We will accept paper here at our office as well. We do prefer online because if you send paper, it's not you putting it in, you're relying on someone in our office to actually enter all of your data for you.
Good point. Yes, thank you. Richland County, as far as our formal solicitations, they are 100% electronic as well. Again, through the portal that you can find on our website. We will occasionally issue some smaller requests for quotes. Those are paper, fax, email, that sort of thing. So we do accept those for the smaller quotes, but all of our formal solicitations are electronically performed at this point. And we had a question come in regarding the small and minority businesses. So if I could just maybe back up just a few minutes and ask you all to speak about specifically how you attract small and minority businesses and what attempts do you make to actually get that participation?
I'll go first on this one. We are working towards doing that outreach. So we have implemented a policy at DOT for those small purchases between $10,000 to $25,000 that because our maintenance units get those quotes themselves. We have said that they have to show how they have reached out to the minority business community that are registered through Smbcc, the governor's office of Smbcc. So if you're not, and I do know that there are, vendors who aren't registered through that program, so that we can't count them. So that's one way we're doing that. Also, our small and minority business office also does outreach programs and usually participate in different business fairs throughout the year as well, because we want to have businesses that are participating, small and minority businesses that are participating. And so I'll go ahead and make a plug here. We are, any agency that gets federal dollars, our agency was, I guess because we spend the most federal dollars in the state, and we have a small and minority business office, we are what's called central certification for federal government here in South Carolina. So any state agency that needs to meet some kind of federal goal, we maintain that list of eligible vendors for all the state agencies. It is separate from Smbcc's, but the good thing is if you register with SCDOT's Small and Minority Business Office and check the box that says you want your paperwork to go over to Smbcc, then you're automatic. There are some things that you have to go through, but generally it's an automatic reciprocal registration with Smbcc. The reverse is not true because our requirements are a little bit tougher and there's more to go through to get registered with our office, but it is worth it because then that helps with all the agencies throughout the state as well who are trying to spend federal dollars.
Excellent, thank you. And I'll go ahead and mention for Richland County, our Office of Small Business Opportunities has an excellent outreach program. They're in communication with our registered vendors. They're sending out emails. I know they're frequently looking at our solicitations. They're involved in the planning process for establishing goals. And I hope I don't overstep anyone on the panel, but I would also like to mention that in a lot of cases, these small or minority business programs are actually another arm of the agency. And so, while we have procurement related people here and they're speaking, on behalf of these programs, I would encourage you to go to the websites, to go to the individual program websites and to find out more information about registering with these agencies that have been mentioned here today. Beth, would you like to add anything for the city's program about how you are doing some outreach for the small and minority business participation?
It's the same for the city, and we have the Office of Business Opportunities. They do a lot of outreach programs. They put goals on certain projects to bring in minority certified businesses. It's pretty much the same. We deal with procurement on our side. They deal with the certifications and making sure that we bring in those types of businesses, the underutilized businesses that we have here in the city. So I would highly encourage you to check out the OBO site, make sure that you attend their events. They also do matchmaking sessions after some of our construction projects. So I highly encourage you to jump on those pre-bids for the construction, stay on and talk to them after that. And then another thing that I would just like to mention, similar to Emmett, what they do there, I deal with the buyer, so I deal with mostly small goods and services. So we work a little bit, the departments are able to get their own quotes on certain things. And when they do, and those quotes come to us, if there is not a DBE quote with that, we will go out and get another quote from a DBE. So if it's two businesses that neither are certified, we will go out and get another quote. My office just does that to make sure we're trying to bring in small minority businesses.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question. I think it may be directed towards what Emmett was just talking about. Do you have to be in business for a year before Smbcc, or is it automatically after DBE certification?
That is, I would, as you said, I would direct that to the folks at Smbcc. I don't know the specific answer to that question. Also, since I'm not with our DBE office specifically, I'd hesitate to answer that in any kind of definitive manner.
Great, thank you. Kimber, did you have anything to add about the outreach programs? I know that you and Emmett kind of have similar processes, both being with the state, so I don't want to repeat everything, but I don't want to leave anybody out either.
No, we pretty much follow the same process with that Emmett does. And of course, in our office, we're dealing with the formal solicitations and quotes. So we're limited on how much contact we can do on a specific solicitation. So we tend to focus ours on events like this, on letting people know how to do business with the state and where to go and where to find those opportunities.
Okay, excellent. We have another question that just came in. Let's see. Do you only do business with companies in Colombia or the state of South Carolina? So I'll answer for Richland County. No, that's not the case for Richland County. While we do encourage the use of our small local business enterprises here in Richland County, there are of course just times where we have to get goods or services from elsewhere. So
it's the same for the city of Columbia. We do encourage local, but obviously there are places, other goods and services that we have to get elsewhere.
Awesome.
And the state, we deal with vendors across the nation. So.
And that would be the same for DOT. And our local offices, for their small purchases between, I hate to say zero, but that's really our local offices can do their own purchasing between 0 and 25,000. So they're looking mainly in their local counties or cities where they're located.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Okay. We have a question that does your agency require bid bonds and/or standard insurances? So I'll go ahead and answer for Richland County first. We do require bid bonds for bids where the estimate is over $100,000. And we do require insurance. You can find our standard requirements on our website in our general terms and conditions. And I would also mention that all of our companies that we do business with are required to have workman's comp. So that is Richland County's guidelines. Emmett, since you're still on the screen, could you answer for DOT?
Sure. So we do not generally require a bid bond. It depends on the project size, and that's on goods, and that's on my side of the house. However, on any construction project, there's some I know there are some requirements in the code for construction on bid bonds, and then also obviously on our road construction projects, there are bid bonds. We do usually also require, it depends on the contract again, but we have started requiring performance bonds on some of our services contracts. And yes, we absolutely require insurance. That's all in our solicitation documents about what those limits are and what's required. And as you said, Jennifer, workman's comp is one of the ones that is required in there.
Awesome, thanks. How about Beth?
Our construction projects do require bid bonds. Many of them also require performance bonds, if not all. And then also on the goods and services side, we have started requiring performance bonds on certain services and certain chemicals for wastewater, water. And then also the insurances. We have standard insurance that we have on our website for our purchase orders, our small purchases, and then we also, in solicitations, we always spell out all of the insurances that are required, and workers' comp obviously is a part of that.
Awesome, thank you. I will mention, I see a couple of questions, again, related to this information. We're giving out a lot of fantastic and valuable information. So if you're watching and maybe you missed the first part of the session, or you're trying to keep up and furiously taking your notes, this is being recorded and you will be able to find it on Richland County's YouTube site. So if I'd like to come back later and view it again. And I believe we've got some information that will be disseminated afterwards regarding some of these links and things like that as well. So don't worry, we will make sure you have access to all this information that we're giving out right now. This is a question for everyone. Are only certain types of projects placed on your bid solicitation program? So I guess any kind of thresholds or any specific types of bids, or is everything advertised?
I can start this one for you, Jennifer. So everything in our construction office is put on that letting project. Anything, as we said earlier, anything over, as Kimber alluded to earlier, anything over $25,000, we do have to advertise at least once in SBCC, and there is a minimum advertising time for those that are over $25,000 of 7 days. I have to keep remembering what's business and what's not in our code. But that one's 7 days, and usually we advertise for longer than that. Anything under 25,000, that in our office anyway, and for our agency, that's going to be handled again at the local level, and they're going to be calling or making contact with those vendors that they know or have made an effort to make themselves known to that local maintenance unit or local construction office. That is probably the best way for smaller things, is to make contact with those local offices. So here in Richland County, that would be Richland Maintenance, our district office, which is down on Shop Road, Lexington Maintenance, obviously. And then, and obviously we have maintenance offices in all 46 counties, plus Holly Hill, so 47 maintenance offices in all.
Excellent. Okay. For Richland County, we do advertise, we do formally advertise solicitations over $15,000. But as Emmett mentioned, for those smaller purchases, the $1,500 to $15,000, we do encourage you to communicate with our departments. We have a lot of smaller projects being done in public works, operational services, who's responsible for our building maintenance. And those folks typically are going out on their own and getting, 3 quotes. So, if you can make the introductions and introduce yourself and let them know. I also know that OSBO has worked on doing sort of like a supplier department. I'm not sure what we called that, but it was an event where we had representatives from our departments and allowed our small businesses to come in and introduce themselves. And I highly encourage you to make that acquaintance. So if anyone would like to have that information or to find out who they can talk to, you're more than welcome to contact me, and we'll make sure that that information is given out. How about Beth?
We do advertise 25,000 and over on our eBid site. We advertise any formal solicitation would be in SBCC. We've also started, like I said earlier, advertising some small quotes through our eBid system. Also, there's a minority business opportunity pamphlet or book that our Office of Business Opportunities put together. There are contacts in there for every department that the city has. And actually under each department, it'll tell you the common things that they look for. That will be sent out after this. I would highly suggest looking through that if you offer those types of goods. There may be some services for our support services, certain things. I would highly suggest you make contact with them, talk to them about those things because they do get their own quotes for a lot of those things.
Excellent. Kimber, did you want to mention anything about the types of bids that are advertised for the state and maybe where they can get information?
Everything through our office is advertised because we have that $25,000 threshold and we do everything over 50. And it's on our website and in South Carolina Business Opportunities.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Okay, well, this is an interesting question. I don't know that there's a one firm answer, but the question is, how long is your bid process once one reaches your desk? From solicitation to pre-bid to award to notice to proceed. So I'm not sure there's just one answer for that, but maybe we could just talk about that process and maybe on average how long that takes.
I'll go ahead and start with that one. It all depends on the source selection method that we use and the complexity of the procurement. So if we're doing something that is an invitation for bid, that's a relatively simple, straightforward purchase. Maybe it's a piece of equipment or a service contract that we've done many times in the past, landscaping, janitorial. Those can be done a lot in a quicker fashion than a very complex RFP. So if we're trying to replace an ERP system for a college or university, that's going to take much longer. So and what happens is in our office, we will get a scope of work from an agency. We assign that to a procurement manager. Typically, our procurement managers in our office are working anywhere between 6 and 10 solicitations at any given time. So they'll have to slot things in when it's when they can have the time to work on it. So they're quite frequently juggling their schedules. So if it's a straight invitation for bid solicitation, we typically look 60 to 90 days. Now, if it's got a very, the scope of work, it's not something we've done before, the agency's not as familiar, it may take a little bit more work, that may take longer. RFPs, typically a minimum is going to be about 120 days to get through a request for proposal. We have had some requests for proposals that the solicitation process has gone from start to finish, from the time we got the request to the time was awarded, was 12 to 18 months. So it depends on what it is. The simpler and the more straightforward, the quicker we can do it. Things that are more complex and especially IT tend to take a lot longer.
I can go next for the city if you'd like. It's pretty much the same. We have different timelines depending on the complexity of the procurement that we're doing. I can say an IFB for goods or simple services that my team would do. It should take maybe about 6 weeks from landing on the desk to issuing a PO. That all really depends on if we have to go to council for the award and things like that. The City of Columbia does require any award over $50,000 to go before council to be approved. That's a little different for cities and municipalities than it is for the state. So we do have that little bit of difference that we have to do there. I did talk to our construction procurement manager. He said a construction project could take anywhere from 6 weeks to 4 months. It just really depends on what is included in there. we could have something very simple to something very complex that's going to take a lot longer. And an RFP can take anywhere from 90 to 120 days. Sometimes it could take a little bit longer, just depends on what we're looking at. So it's a range.
Yeah, so Richland County is very similar. It depends on what it is. If we have a bid and it's less than $100,000, typically it can be awarded in as little as 45 days, 45 to 60 days, I would say. If it's over $100,000, we have to seek approval of our council. And so, we have to work into their schedule and get it on the agenda and that sort of thing. So that could extend it to 90 to 120 days at least. And again, as everyone's mentioned, the RFPs are a little bit longer. You do have an evaluation period there that we need to account for. So that could be 90, 120 or longer. So thank you, everyone. We have another question that came in the chat. Let's see. I've got to back up a little bit here. Is there any assistance for a small business that may have trouble understanding the process or competing with larger companies? And so I would defer to our Office of Small Business Opportunities, pretty much why they were created, to provide that assistance to our small businesses. Does anybody else have anything to add there about some assistance for those small businesses?
It's the same for the city. Our Office of Business Opportunities, they do a great job with that. I normally will direct small businesses to them. They do a great job with talking with the businesses, finding out what they offer, and they actually do send out citywide emails a lot of times to let us know that they're available. This is what they offer. It goes out to the departments. So that is a great resource for the city. If you want to do work for the city, or if you want to do business with the city, go talk to our Office of Business Opportunities. They do a great job with that.
Awesome.
I would say the same thing for DOT. And one of the things we are also doing to try and make that outreach happen is every solicitation we send out, we include the business development office here at DOT, and so they can go through that solicitation, see what we're looking for, see if there are any businesses they have that would fit that. Fit what we're trying to do, and they send it on to them as well. So we're trying to hit as much as we can with that outreach.
And this is Kimber for the state. If anyone has a question about what's the general process or questions on it, you can contact our office, contact one of our procurement managers or anybody that's on our contact list. And we'll do what we can to walk you through the process. If there is a specific solicitation that is posted that you have questions about, contact the procurement manager on the cover page of that solicitation. Ask questions when those solicitations are out on the street. We've had a lot of cases, not a lot, but we have had cases in the past where if a vendor had asked a question during the solicitation process, it would have helped them do a better job putting their bid together. So, you can talk to the procurement manager, you can ask questions. Don't think that you can't do that. We encourage people to ask questions. What you can't do is contact an end user. So if we're doing a bid on behalf of SCDOT, don't call Emmett or one of his people once that solicitation's issued. You need to come to our office because once it's issued, all the communications need to go through the procurement officer, and they should be able to help. But general questions, call our office, and we'll be glad to answer questions on the process.
Yes, excellent. Good point. Good point. How about this one? This one might be easy. How soon after a bid opening are the results posted to the public? So for Richland County, I would say once the bids are open electronically, we have them posted within the hour. And they also go out in the automatic communication to all of the vendors who are plan holders. Emmett, I think I heard you start to chime in.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't mean to talk over you, Jennifer. We post an award, so we don't post the full results for goods and services. That information is always available. You can always ask for it after bid opening. And then, but once the award is posted, you can ask for anything really related to that procurement. But we don't post the results themselves. The only office that does that is our construction office. They do post the results for the large construction projects when those are ready to get awarded.
Awesome. How about Beth?
The City of Columbia, we post unofficial bid tabs within 2 working days after the opening. Official bid tabs are posted after the responsiveness and responsibilities have been checked. So that's how we do it. And I'm sorry, they're posted on our eBid site as well.
Awesome. Okay. This question is specifically directed to the city and SFA, but I'll go ahead and throw it out to everyone. What about small businesses that provide services like catering, office supplies, promotional items, event planning, consulting? What advice can you give to those types of smaller companies about how to find out about those opportunities and getting their foot in the door?
So the smaller businesses, they are given the same opportunities for anything over $25,000 with the city because we advertise those. I would encourage to register on our eBid system. Also, as I've stated, we're doing pilot program where we're putting some of those things through eBid for the smaller type things. That's another reason to be registered. The guide that's going to go out for the city, there are contacts in there. I would make contact with certain departments that are looking for those types of things. And then also you can call my department. The buyers will meet with you, we'll talk with you, we'll find out what you're offering. And we'll think about the best fit throughout the city, who we would direct you to talk to that might be looking for your types of services or goods.
Excellent, excellent. Anyone else?
And this is Kimber with the state procurement office. Because our office only handles things over $50,000 that are advertised, my office can't really assist somebody directly with something that's a smaller, catering, office supplies, promotional events. Those things are typically going to be under that threshold that are going to be handled at the agency level. So the key is to get in touch with the people at the agency. We do have a contact list on our website of agency procurement directors. So if you have a good or service that would be something that would be used by DSS or DHAC, we do have contact information for the folks at those agencies that you can get in touch with. But it's really a matter of making sure that the agencies know that you're out there and what you can provide, and let them know who to contact and at your agency when they're looking for things like that.
Excellent. We have a question. Does your agency do business with nonprofits? And I'll answer for Richland County. We do business with nonprofits.
The city does as well. A lot of any businesses that nonprofits that deal with homeless population, things like that, we do business with them. A lot of those go through our community development office. So I would encourage, if you're a nonprofit and you match with the city, I would definitely talk to them.
Yeah, Richland County does a lot with our community development program. Also, a lot of home rehabs and things like that. So definitely. How about the state?
We've awarded contracts to nonprofits as well. Usually those are with more of our services agency, DSS, DDSN, Voc Rehab, those agencies tend to be the ones that use nonprofits.
Okay. Great, thank you. And Emmett, this one's for you. Well, I guess it could be for all of us, but it was directed towards SCDOT. If a company is on the debarred list, how, in your opinion, would that affect that company from doing business with other agencies?
So the debarred list is actually maintained by SFAA if they're talking about debarred vendors for the state. And that is going to highly impact your ability to do business with us because we wouldn't be able to do business with you. Same goes for our construct. Now there are different, obviously they're different debarment, different, the federal level, it all depends on which agency debarred you. For us, it's going to be FHWA or the Department of Transport or USDOT that is you're debarred from. And it's not, so if we have a current contract with that contractor and they get debarred, well, the feds have said, well, you just continue on working with them. They just can't bid on any new work that is released by the agency. It doesn't affect the ability for them to continue doing work as long as we're not the ones that have debarred them. I'll let Kimber answer the whole other piece of that.
Well, if you have been debarred by the state, you're prohibited from doing business with the state. If you have been debarred by the federal government or by another state or a local political subdivision, that doesn't necessarily automatically preclude you from doing business with the state. But what we do is we do responsibility checks before every contract that we're awarded. So if you have been debarred by a governmental body or federal, another state, city, county, that would be taken into consideration into whether you can be determined responsible and able to perform the work. I do know if an agency is using federal money and you've been debarred by the federal government, like Emmett said, that may preclude you from being awarded a contract using federal dollars.
Beth, did you want to answer about the city and how they handle debarments?
Sorry, I was muted. We do check the state debarred listing. So if you are debarred with the state, we cannot do business with you. And we do also for awards over 25,000, regardless if it's federal funds or city funds, we do also check the system of award management for the federal government. So you would need to be registered for that for anything over $25,000. So you need to have your Duns and Bradstreet number, register, and we do check those. And especially for federal dollars. As federal dollars, it is a requirement over $25,000 to make sure that you're in good standings with the federal government.
Yes. And that website is www.sam.gov.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
for everyone's information. Richland County is very similar. We check SAM for all federally funded projects. We have several reasons that a company could be debarred, and one of them is if they are debarred by another governmental agency. So it does definitely impact your ability to receive awards even from other entities other than the one that debarred you. So, okay, let's see, let me just make sure. So we have a question about all of the acronyms, and I'm chuckling because we have used a lot of them here today. But these in particular are asking about RFP, RFQ, RFB, ITB, those sorts of things. So how about, this is for the city. So how about you answer for all of us?
Exciting. So RFP is a request for proposals. It is a formal solicitation. There is a evaluation panel that will meet to look at proposals. So that is a request for proposals. Something interesting that the city has started to do we no longer call requests for qualifications an RFQ. We now call them RFQ with a small u, because we do put out RFQs through our eBid site, which are requests for quotes. So we have gone to that. So I was glad to see this question on there because we had made that change. So request for qualifications is an RFQU. You will see that on our eBid site. An RFQ is request for quotes. At the city, request for quotes is anything up to $25,000. And then also, were those the only ones? RFP, RFQ, RFQU, IFB is invitation for bid. Alphabet soup. That's what we call it, alphabet soup.
Sorry about that. We do love our acronyms. I know that. And interestingly enough, I have seen other entities who are using RFQ small u for quote.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes we get it backwards.
exactly. So this is for everyone. It's specifically directed towards the state, but it says, in your opinion, what makes a winning bid proposal? What must-have information or qualities do you look for?
That depends. That tends to be my answer on everything. What we do is we're looking at solicitations and proposals. So what we're looking for will vary depending on what we're offering. If it is the best thing to do, I would offer is, and we're doing a request for proposal, read the documents. There will be, for state solicitations, there's going to be a section that's information for offers to submit, which is section 4 of our documents. Section 5 will be our evaluation criteria. So look at that evaluation criteria. Our evaluation factors will always be listed in order of importance. So the item that's on the first item of that list is what's most important to the state. And so make sure you read those documents, because our information for offers to submit will usually tie to the evaluation factors. So if you provide us the information that we've asked for and given us the detail, that helps us evaluate. When you are putting together your offers and you go through that information for offers to submit and you put in kind of generic, simple, basic responses to the information that we've asked for, our proposals are evaluated by committee. So if the information that's provided is very generic and basic, that's going to reflect in your evaluation. So really look at what we've asked for, provide meaningful answers to the questions, and make sure that you're submitting what we've asked for, and that you've not left anything out. So make sure that your responses are clear and comprehensive so that we can do it. But what you want to do is look at that solicitation you're responding to, because the evaluation factors will be different for different solicitations.
Yes, great point. So it's real important to read everything and make sure if it says must or shall that you're absolutely doing that, or you conform to that. Those are really important information. We had a question about how you get debarred. It's a pretty serious thing. So, some reasons could be if you've been convicted of some sort of crime like bribery, forgery, anything that would be indicative of your professional honesty, conviction under antitrust laws, or various things like that. You could also be debarred for certain contract performance issues if it rises to that level. This is for Richland County I'm speaking on. So it's a pretty serious pretty serious thing. And it says, how do you know? You would most certainly know you were being debarred, because you would have been given several opportunities typically to prevent that, unless again, it's something like some sort of criminal offense. So did anybody want to add anything about that?
For the state process to be barred at the state level, if an agency makes a request for a vendor to be debarred, it has to be a pretty serious offense, a conviction, an ethics violation, a very serious contract performance issue that would require more than just canceling the contract. You would receive a notice from our office that you've somebody has requested to debar you and what the circumstances are. Our chief procurement officer you'll have an opportunity to respond. There's a hearing to make your case why you shouldn't be debarred, and then the chief procurement officer makes a decision that you are debarred. If the chief procurement officer determines that a vendor should be debarred, the vendor does have the right to appeal to the procurement review panel. They can review the case and hear it. And then if they decided that the debarment is valid, then you would be debarred. There's not a whole lot of vendors on the state level that have been debarred. They are posted on our website, that procurement.sc.gov, but it's a pretty high bar, and you would be notified, and you would have an opportunity to respond if you don't think the debarment is valid.
Yes, thank you, Kimber. We have a question about a bidder being non-responsive. What is considered non-responsive? So maybe could we give some examples that maybe we've seen or heard in the past of what would make someone non-responsive?
Absolutely. One of the things that we see a lot here that makes someone non-responsive is, well, there are two things. One is if it says enter a bid for every item, please enter a bid for every item. Because if you put a no bid and we've asked for 6 different items in there and you put a no bid on one, you've become non-responsive because you can't meet our needs. The other thing goes back to the whole thing about Kimber saying about asking questions on the front end solves a lot of problems for us and for you. Don't change our bidding schedule. If something needs to change, bring that up during the question and answer period. We can make changes that help the solicitation better fit with the business that we're, or the business community or vendor community that we're trying to get quotes from. Sometimes we just don't know that, for instance, that one piece of equipment might cost more to haul than any other piece. And rather than marking through and saying, this is our price for 7 and here's our other price for number 8, if the question was asked on the front end, we could have changed the bidding schedule to make it work.
Yes, thank you, Emmett. Beth, did you want to talk about what it means for the city to be non-responsive?
Pretty much the same. I mean, submitting bids or offers that don't meet the product specifications, terms, deliverables, anything like that would be considered non-responsive. Most agencies are the same. We consider the same things non-responsive.
Yep, that's true. So again, looking for those words must and shall. If you're required to have a contractor's license, then you should have a contractor's license. If you're required to have a certain level of insurance, then you should have that. If you're required to provide a bid bond and you don't, then you would be non-responsive. Kimber, did you have anything else to add?
Now ours is same thing. Everything everybody said. It's responsiveness to us is, do you agree to do what we've asked you to do? So if you're filling out your bid and you would say, well, I agree to do it, but, or I can do it if. So if you've got those buts or those ifs in your thought process when you're filling out your bid, ask the question. Because if you say, well, I could do it, but here's a problem. So could we do it a different way? And then we can fix that before the bids are open. You know, we can amend it and get that done. If you just put it on your bid schedule and send it, it's too late for us to fix it at that point. So.
Yeah, good point, because if we allowed it for the one person after the fact, then that wouldn't be fair to everyone else beforehand. So if we can address it before the bids come in, then that's the best way to go about it. This is for everyone related to RFPs. Is there an evaluation committee that reviews them? Actually, well, it says proposals, but it says to determine who wins the bids. So I guess I'll just mention that we do have an evaluation committee for RFPs. They're different for each one. It would be stakeholders related to that particular RFP. We don't have an established regular evaluation committee. Regarding bids, the procurement person would be the person evaluating for responsiveness and responsibility. So Kimber, did you want to talk about the state? Do they have an evaluation committee for proposals?
We use an evaluation committee for requests for proposals and for best value bids. For invitation for bid or low bid, there is no committee. The procurement officer makes that decision.
The city operates the same. We do exactly the same.
Great, okay. Let's see. Do you require all prime contractors that are bidding on projects to attend pre-bid meetings? And what about subcontractors? And what are the benefits if subs are present at the pre-bids?
So the city of Columbia, we do not make them mandatory, pre-bids mandatory. We do highly encourage that vendors or contractors and subcontractors come to these meetings, but we do not make it mandatory unless there's a strong reason to do so. But most of them are non-mandatory. I would say always check the solicitation document for the details. If it's mandatory, make sure you're there. If we say it's non-mandatory, then you do have that leeway there. For subcontractors to be at their pre-bid, when I was talking to my construction procurement manager, he said it's an educational standpoint for subcontractors. They get to know who are the primes. They know who they can talk to. They also get the opportunity to meet with our OBO office. We have mentor protege programs, things like that are sometimes put on our construction projects. So it gives them the chance, or the CDBE, those types of programs. They would know who they're looking at.
Awesome. Kimber, Emmett, did you guys want to chime in about pre-bids?
The state, if you want to have a mandatory pre-bid, you have to make a written determination as to why it's required. So the majority of ours are going to be non-mandatory. I do think that pre-bid meetings are very beneficial because, we put in our office a lot of thought and effort into writing these solicitation documents. And of course, we always think they're perfectly clear and easy to understand. But then we've been embedded working on these things for sometimes months at a time. And so when a vendor gets it and looks at it with a fresh set of eyes, there's some, there might be questions or confusion. And when you go to a pre-bid and you hear the state talk about what the requirements are of this solicitation, that may help you ask the question or bring something to our attention that doesn't make sense. So it results in a better solicitation, which makes it easier for you to put in an offer. So we really recommend you doing that. And as far as subs, I think I'd echo what Liz says. It's education. You hear, you get to know people. And if you can attend, it certainly is much more of a help than it is a hindrance.
Very true. Very true. Emmett, did you want to add anything?
I think that pretty much covers it, because those are all the reasons I would have a pre-bid. And as Kimber said, not only do we have to have a written determination The reason you're not going to see it a lot at all from state agencies is it's not just a written determination by the procurement officer. That actually has to come from the head of the agency or their designee. So it's not something, when we make them mandatory, it is not something that we've taken lightly. It's really because the project is so complicated, they have to see it.
Great, thank you. This question is for everyone. Does your agency operate on a direct pay system or a purchase order system? I'll go ahead and mention Richland County requires purchase orders.
Same with the City of Columbia, we're purchase orders.
We do purchase orders for anything over 2,500. And we have a P card program with the state, so our offices can use their P card for anything up to $2,500 for most things. Depends if it's services, sometimes not. There is a direct pay piece, but we highly discourage that at our agency.
Okay. Let's see. What are your terms, payment terms? Do you have standard payment terms? That's for everyone.
Typically, we use 30 days, but I have seen instances where, we change those a little bit based on situation, but standard is 30 days.
Okay. Kimber, does the state have standard payment terms or do you negotiate that?
The state has payments that are established. It's a payment and interest clause that's based on statute. So typically our Comptroller General's office has a certain number of days after they receive an approved invoice to make the payment. If the payment's not made within that period of time, a vendor can request interest payments, but those interests are based on rates that are established by the Comptroller General's office.
Okay. Yeah, Richland County typically has 30-day payment terms, but I mean, we will take longer ones if if we can manage that. And then let me just ask one more question with regard to payment. If the vendor doesn't receive payment, is it okay to call procurement or who should they contact?
I can take that for the city.
Okay.
So my first suggestion would be to call the department that you did business with. They need to receive on your invoice and they need to have received your invoice. I would also suggest if you do business with the City of Columbia, it is highly encouraged that you send that invoice also to accounts payable. And on all of our purchase orders, our accounts payable email address is there. That will ensure that your invoice is received on and paid. We do accept calls at our office. We will go and look and see if your if your invoice has been received on, if the check has been cut. We gladly answer those calls. But my first suggestion would be to call the department.
Great, thank you. Kimber, any payment advice for the state?
Well, in our office, we do the solicitations and issue the contracts. The purchase orders and payments are done at the agency level. So I would start with an agency accounts payable department, and Emmett's probably can answer that better than I can as far as contacting procurement.
Okay, Emmett.
Sure. So you can contact our office, but as Beth was saying, kind of the same thing for us. Contact that local office or department that actually had you do the work, because they are responsible for issuing that purchase order, getting it to you, and receipting against it. And same goes for us. Send it. There's no harm in sending it to both your invoice to both the department and AP.
Sure.
But if you send it just to the department, then our accounts payable department has no idea that something is sitting out there waiting to be paid. We do try to look through and make sure that things are getting paid timely. So you can always call our office and we can at least see if the end user has keyed for payment to go to accounts payable.
Just to piggyback on what Emmett said, that is a lot of times where we find payments are not being made is because maybe that department, you're sending the invoice to that department, and that person may be gone that you were dealing with. So if you do not copy accounts payable when you send those invoices out, no one knows it's out there. So that is a very good thing to do.
Yes, and I would just, you say for Richland County, same. Send it to the department, send it to accounts payable. I'll be happy to give you check information or let you know or inquire on your behalf. But really, accounts payable needs to enter it. The department needs to approve it. Yes, I did get these goods and services. Yes, it was satisfactory, that sort of thing. So definitely send it to both places. And with that, I think we answered some questions as we went along. With that, I'll turn this back over to the OSBO folks. I want to thank everyone for participating today. I want to thank all of our attendees. I want to thank our panel. Y'all have been fantastic. It's an honor to moderate with you all today. And Michelle, would you like to take back over?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Jennifer. So you've heard from department heads from Richland County for procurement, from the procurement director, Kimber Craig, from the director of procurement for state fiscal accountability and authority. You heard from Emmett Kerwin, director of procurement, South Carolina, DOT. And you've also heard from Beth Marsh, a procurement manager for goods and services with the city of Columbia. We do intend to send out each one of their information and all of the websites and the nice handouts that they provided us with. We do intend to send it out to all of you that are logged in. And we also intend to, we've recorded the session and we'll also send out the link. And finally, we have a survey that we're going to be sending out to you as well. Please fill out the survey. Let us know how we're doing and what else we can do to help you. Now I'll turn this over to our director, Chris Kiefer.
Thank you, everybody, for participating today. And as again, I have a handful of notes for the businesses who participated. Thank you for your time today. I know when you're running a business, taking a chunk out of it is a big commitment. So I'm pretty sure you probably got a lot out of this. You met 3 very important procurement officers who are ready to help you, and you got a lot of good information. Please take it to heart, look at those websites, and look forward to working with those various agencies. So thank you to our panelists, to our moderator / panelist, Jennifer, for doing an awesome job, and to OSBO for bringing this to you all. Thanks, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.